Hello, dear book dragons. It's March. Well, it's already 8th of March, and I was really sick last weekend, and you can still hear it on my voice. So I couldn't do it with you then, because my voice was, of course, even worse. I was sick twice in February, so that was kind of a devastation for me because usually February is one of my best months because it's my birthday month and it gives me energy. Anyway, I'm going to talk about all the books that I read in February, and there were 10 books, and they're too heavy to show them all at once. But the first 4 is a series. Because I was sick, I was home for a whole week, so I read like nearly a book a day that week. And I talked about the first 2 books of the series in my January video. So it's the Tree of Ages by Sarah Rothler, C. Rothler, about this girl called Finn. But there's also a lot of other people we meet in the series. And as I read book 3 to 6 in February, I don't really want to say so much about them because I don't want to spoil them. But they're really adventurous. It's I would say it's kind of a Celtic myth. There's a lot of different people we meet more and more for every book, and we get to meet a baby dragon in this book. Well, no, in the second book, but it comes in the second book. And so Finn takes care of this dragon, who is called Naoki. She names him her Naoki. Yeah, I really love the dragon. She's so cute. And yeah, I gave kind of all of these books 4.5 stars. I mean, they're not deep. We don't get deep into the characters. It's very adventurous driven, more of things happening than of people. But there's a lot about their thoughts as well, and we do see them develop as people. And the books get more and more adventurous and more dark, I would say. So book 3 is Blood Forest. And book 4 is Queen of Wands, which is kind of the thickest book, where we get to know more about Elasad and the Fae Queen. So in the book 4, this is this myth about these 3 queens, Elasad, Finn, and the Fairy Queen, that they have to battle and one will have to die. So that was adventurous. It happens so much. I don't remember everything. There's so much going on, and there is a love story, but it's very, I mean, nothing really happens. So if you want to read books, there is not very descriptive about that. These are perfect because nothing really happens. And then it's book 5, The Oaken Throne. And this was from the beginning actually the last book in the series, but then she decided to continue on. And I gave this 4.8, I think, because, well, no, also 4.5, but I really enjoyed the last book. I really enjoyed book 4 and 5, I would say. And then she wrote 3 more books, so book 6 at 7 and 8, and I'm reading book 7 right now. And you see, this is really thin. This is more like a novel of the beginning of the rest. And then after the conclusion of book 5, this was a very good conclusion. She of course had to start something new, a new problem. And in this book there are 2 gods that has arrived on this land, and they had decided that Finn needs to be punished, and they're going to punish all the magicians because they aim to restore the balance in this world, and they think it's Finn's fault that the balance is destroyed, which it isn't really her fault, but yeah. Anyway, so Yeah, I think I gave it 4 stars, but the book 7 that I'm reading now, I would say it's better. But I also feel a bit like, oh, I just want to finish this series and go on with something else, and that's probably maybe not a very good sign. But I do enjoy it while reading it. And while I was sick, I was also reading The Little Shop of Grand Curiosities by Iris Lake, and I love this book so much. I gave it 5 stars, I think. Let's see. Yes, I gave this 5 stars. This is such a fun, cute, and really romantic book. There's some spice in it towards the end, but not a lot, but some. I would say it's more the tension in the air, so to say. It's in the beginning I found it quite similar to Once Upon a Broken Heart, but that was just in the beginning, and then it was just totally its own story. And it's about this girl called Nephili who has this curiosity store, which she has taken over for her parents because they have moved to another place, and she's quite very lonely, I would say, and but she's determined to go with the store. But the adventure starts from page 1. And this young man arrives in her shop, and some strange beings are following him, so he asks where the back door is, and the back door leads back to his country. So it's like a jump in air, and they fall through the air and come back to his country. He lives in the north. And a very big plus for that there is, I wouldn't say a map, but there are pictures of the different countries. So she lives in the kingdom of Elora, and he is from the north, Thaloria. And as you can see, I put some little tabs here and there. I really enjoy the writing. Let's see, I wanted to read 2 things for you. This young prince is called Apollo, and he says to her, they have a lot of conversations about who she is and what she wants to do in her life. And he says, well, I don't disagree, but all this self-reflection of yours means nothing if you never show the world the person you discovered in there. And I really like that. I found that interesting. And I think I wanted to... This was just a really little bit fun and interesting. Why does the dragonfly have demons? She whispered, yelled, her eyes huge with terror. Because the magic here attracts them, I explained, scanning our environs. They prey on magical creatures mostly, and the dragonfly has plenty of them. Magic makes the soul tastier, I suppose. Magic makes the soul tastier. Yeah, that was kind of fun. Well, here's the one. To be known for all you were was lovely, but to be known for all the things you could be was extraordinary. And there was no words beautiful or meaningful enough for me to express how he made me feel now, how much courage and heart his certainty brought to me. Yeah, that was nice. Well, this is just really fun, adventurous, things happening all the time, only 1 bedroom. And I would say a bit of a mix of Stardust, because she, as a kid, managed to swallow a lot of stardust. But in the land where she lives, there's like no magic. But when she arrives to his country, where there's lots of magic, suddenly she kind of shines. And so a little bit of mix of Stardust, but also Howl's Moving Castle, because, well, a bit. At least what the writer has actually written herself at the end. There's not really a magician in here, but I guess just, I don't know. Just maybe it is all the things that's going on. But I really like the Stardust vibes, and because it's my favorite movie. The book is very different from the movie, but it's also very good. And this is much more lighter, I would say. But such a joy to read, so I really recommend The Little Shop of Grand Curiosities for fun and light read, but also a lot of interesting stuff. And then I read another even lighter book, Love at First Glance by Griffin Murphy. And this is just very cute. I would say like young teen book, really. It's not young adult, it's like a teen book. And it was just really cute, but also a little bit strange, because this is about a princess who, in her country, or countries, I would say, there's this tradition to have a tournament, I think, every year at the equinox for a princess, or maybe prince also, to be married away to anyone who wins the tournament, which I found extremely odd. Well, the people in the book find this really odd too, but it's like, why do we even have this tradition? Good question. But yeah, this what's her name? Bridget. She refused, the year before this happened, she refused the prince who won the competition. And now her little sister who's really wants to do this, said yes. And she's like, no, she's going to die. For her, getting married is similar to death. And yeah, a lot of things going on. She decides to herself join the competition to make sure the right person wins, or she wins, so her sister doesn't have to marry. And of course she meets a really nice prince who is the Prince of Night, I think, and they had Winterlands? No, Nightlands. And she has a lot of prejudice against him and his country, and it was just really entertaining, and some of the magic was really interesting, and some of the competitions was also really interesting. And they, at one point, they're being magically made really small, and up because they're in the autumn realm, and so they're going to be kind of hang gliding on leaves to see who does the best gliding down the tree and do the best somersaults and stuff. I found that was fun. Interesting kind of magic. And so also a good book to read when you're sick and just want to be entertained. I gave it 4.2 stars. And then I read a very different book, much more serious, very serious book, I would say. Maybe a little bit too serious. Tritonus by Kjell Wester. He's a Finnish-Swedish author. This is about a conductor, Thomas Brander, who has building a house out in the archipelago, Finnish archipelago. And so it's about him and his new neighbor, who is like a school psychologist. And they're both like a little bit older men, not old, but over 50 something, 60. They really want to become friends, but they're not very good at it. But that part of it is sweet, I would say. But Thomas has been in this horrible tragedy when he was out conducting in another country, and so he has like PTSD, but he doesn't talk about it. and I thought that during the book he would actually tell this horrible story to the psychologist, but he never did. And of course you get to hear about a lot about music, and his neighbor is also a musician, but more like a hobby musician. So it's a lot about music, but I wasn't like, oh wow, I want to listen to this. Oh, it didn't really make me excited to listen to the music. And the end of the book, there's like a lot of pages where he's actually written down the music that Thomas talks about or thinks about. So I could go through them if I wanted to, but most of the book I felt really anxiety reading this because of the PTSD, but mostly not really actually about the PTSD, but because of another neighbor, a young man who is in trouble, who has the school psychologist really wants to help him. He wants to bring him back on track to not become I don't know what words you can say on YouTube without getting well, he's in a really bad friends, doing stupid stuff, saying stupid things, and this neighbor asked Thomas if he can talk with him. Maybe he will look after you. And he, of course, he doesn't know anything about his PTSD, and it's just so frustrating to anxiety ridden to read about all these conversations, and he can't really say no. He's not very good at saying no. I don't want to. So he does talk to this young man, which doesn't really help, really. Maybe a bit. Obviously, he writes very well because he really got me so engaged in this, but it was hard to read. And I gave it 3.5 stars because I want to enjoy my reading. And then I went back to a really fun, light-hearted book again. And this book has been standing in my bookshelf for over a year, I think. And there's the big book sale in Sweden every February, and I saw where I usually order my books that they had several other of her books on the sale, so now I have to read it to see if I want to read more books of her. And I decided to not buy more books because I really enjoyed it, but I think I have so many other books that probably are better. But so this is A Rivalry of Hearts by Susanne Odette, and I gave it 4 stars. It's really funny, and it's very spicy, I would say. The most spicy book I read this month. And even if it's most in the air. It's about this author, Edwina, she's a human who her books are not selling very well where she lives, but she's been invited to the Fae country, which is really near where she lives, and because she's really popular there for some reason. And she's going to go on this book tour, but she arrives really late, like 2 weeks late, because her ship was shipwrecked or something like that. And when she does arrive, there's another author there who's been doing her job, kind of, and so they have to share. And and she immediately really doesn't like him at all, but also very attracted to him at the same time. So that kind of book, Enemy to Lovers. And it was really fun. It was really entertaining, and I really liked all the people around it as well. And I enjoyed the beginning. I have to read the start here. Oh, I've forgotten that. It was some pictures of them. You get to read from his point of view as well. And here's a little different quotes. And she does a little Pride and Prejudice thing here in the beginning. I've always maintained that a woman in possession of a vast imagination would want for nothing in life. She was superior to those with such fleeting virtues as wit, beauty, or accomplishment. The richest woman in the world, if only in her mind. So, I really liked it, but there were some things that really annoyed me, like she was sucking her teeth and was repeating of things they did with their mouth, which I found annoying because it is a funny, lovely book, but it was just too much of these strange things. I was like, how do you suck your mouth? And then I read a book I've been waiting for like at least half a year, maybe more. The Sun and the Star Maker by Rachel Griffin. And this not disappoints. This was a lovely, lovely read. I gave it 4.8 stars. No, I didn't give it 5 because there were some parts I found a little bit unnecessary and which kind of threw off, at least in the beginning, but then I was like, I didn't really care about it. So it is a really, really good book. It's about this young woman, it's called Aurora. She's only 18, I think, 19. And she lives in a little village on top of a mountain, and they're very isolated there. And this in the beginning of the book, so you get the story of how this village become isolated, because there was like a avalanche, or no, like the mountain going up, and the sun couldn't really reach that far. So the sun turned herself into a woman, and to save this village so it wouldn't become too cold. And there she found a human who helped her, and they fell in love. But she couldn't stay there. I mean, she had to go up in the sky again. And so it's a lot of longing. It's a lot about longing in this book. It's quite sad. Well, not very sad, but it's about this. Well, if we go back to Aurora, she's supposed to get married on this day in the beginning of the book, and she goes out in the forest to pick berries for some reason, and there she meets the Star Maker, and well, he touches her for some reason, because she's trying to shoot his white deer first. And when he touches her, he realizes she will be the next Star Maker, because the Star Maker isn't really living forever. They can live for several hundred years, but they can't live forever, so they have to find their own new Star Maker. So when he realizes she will be the new, obviously she can't just stay in the village and get married to the man she thought she would marry. She has to leave and go live with him, a total stranger, up in his castle. And because he's been very lonely for many, many years, and people doesn't even know his name. He's just called the Star Maker through most of the book. He's kind of cold and distant, and they fight a lot in this book. She doesn't want to become the new Star Maker. She wants to have a normal life. Even if she is kind of relieved that she's actually not getting married, and she feels bad about that. And she has a sister who's sick in the beginning, and I can't explain everything. It's so complicated, but yeah, she says, I'll come with you if you kill my sister and give our house more light, because they live at the end of the village. But then they have to marry for him to give her this light. I can't explain how that works, because it actually isn't really explained how the light comes between two houses just because they marry, but that's how it works here. There's a white stag, there's an immortal rabbit, Constance, but unfortunately doesn't talk. It would have been fun if the rabbit was talking, I think, but there's this lovely people working at the castle, so he's not alone, but because he's kind of almost immortal, he's had to say goodbye to so many people so many times. So this is a lot about enjoying life right now and love anyway, even if you know you have to say goodbye. So yeah, it's a really nice book. It's well, you know what's going to happen. You know things, but that's fine. That's good. It's okay to be able to know what will happen. So yes, unfortunately, I didn't get the book with the nice edges that I had ordered. This was really annoying, but I didn't want to send it back, so yeah. I just wanted to read a little thing for you. Aurora asks him, "Where do you find meaning?" "I find it in the mountain I'm protecting, in the flowers that continue to bloom year after year after year. I find it in the stars and the moon, and the very real sunlight that's in my veins. Even an eternity would not be enough time to discover all of the riches of this world." I found that nice. Magic makes the world painfully beautiful, and with that comes an intense longing, as we know we will never fully appreciate the depth of it. No matter how much we want to, there is far too much for us to comprehend. Yeah, I really read it. And then the last and my favorite book of February was Agnes Obit's Mystical Cat Shelter. Such a fun, lovely, romantic book, but also like the early books, it is romantic, but nothing really happens. So it's good to read if you don't want to read too much about those kind of stuff. Yeah, so this is about Agnes, a young woman in Montreal in Canada. I think it's Montreal. Not saying it wrong. So it is set in our world. There's no fey magic like in the Emily Wilde books. It's more magicians, human magicians. Well, they seem to be not really human. Yeah, well, but they're not fey. Anyway, so Agnes, she has this cat shelter. Her husband died 2 years ago. And she kind of have saved herself by being a very orderly person, but with a lot of compassion, I would say. And because her house was destroyed by some magicians battling in the streets, she has to find a new place for her cats, and which finds it's not very easy for her to find a place where people will let her have cats. So, but at last she finds this really nice place, a nice area, which seems a bit odd, but perfect. And the person who's renting out is so happy that she will stay there, and so happy about cats, and she's very surprised about that. And well, she moves in. She's living there and having her cats there, and there's a lot of descriptions of the cats. Obviously, I don't remember all the names of cats, but there's what's it called? His Majesty is the cat who's terrorizing all the other cats. He's kind of funny, and this is a little bit like, also like Howl's Moving Castle, maybe more like Howl's Moving Castle, because the magician in this book is kind of Wayne, but not really. Anyway, can't explain. People think he's a horrible, really, really dark magician, and he has a lot of heart. He's not very interested in being revered or being horrible, really. He just wants to experiment. It's just, some of his experiments have gone wrong, and that's why people think he's really dark. And well, he has his big place underneath her, so she of course realizes something odd here. There was a bakery where she had this, where the cat's living now before, and there's still a smell of the scent of baked goods all the time. And she hears strange things from the underneath. And there's a lot of people just coming there and say, they're obviously not there for getting a cat, so she's like, who are these people? They look a little bit strange. It's just, yeah, I don't want to say more than that. It's just a wonderful, wonderful book, and lovely relationships between her and her sister, and her and the wizard. His name is Hemlock. It's just a really fun man. I really enjoyed him. He's great. I read that Heather had this thing that he would be a really horrible, dark person, and then realized no, but they have to have something in common, you know. She didn't really want to have this. Yeah, she wanted it to be light, and it is light, and also a lot of things going on as well, because there's this another magician who is hunting him, and yeah, it is, even if it's like a cozy cat book, it's more very adventurous book as well, and a lot about organizing stuff. So my best book of the month, Agnes Obel's Magical Mystical Cat Shelter. Read it, it's really, really good. And yeah, that was the books I read in February. I'll try to make a new video in the mid of March. It doesn't become so long videos. So I hopefully see you soon again. Bye.